I became aware that there was this really interesting interaction between these women mothering, aging, struggling with their daily lives. And I was just photographing, and I kept photographing, and then I became aware that this was also a time in a woman's life when she was considered to be, sort of from a societal standpoint, sort of uninteresting. And yet it was apparent to me that they were actually extraordinary and really rich in all the qualities maybe that I admired most, I don't know. I wonder if you can see their competence, was I think really where it started out. And so I started taking the pictures, and then I became aware that there was also, that, amongst other things, that there's a price paid for the mothering. And you know, the women, by the time their kids are between 10 and 20, which is the requirement to be photographed for this project, a lot of them were in their 40s and on a day-to-day basis sort of careworn. I think most of these women, you know, bearing in mind the time frame, were actually had a very strong sense of obligation that part of their job was to procreate. Even there's this reference to the fact that it's really the first generation of women to mature who grew up in the women's liberation movement. There was a very strong sense that they should have a job, they should have a career, and they should have a family. And I mean, all the time throughout my working career, there was this thing about how to manage that. And it's been extraordinary, the response I've had when I've talked about this project to audiences, meaning substantial groups of people, this sort of extraordinary sense of gratitude from the women, you know, that somebody's noticed, you know, what on earth they've been up to, of what they've been dealing with, and so on. Yeah, motherhood leaves its mark. And I think one of the things that the whole project suggests is that maybe it's a really nice mark and something to be proud of. The sort of strength that I thought I saw, that I was looking for, that I was hoping to record, is just this knowingness. You know, when you start talking nonsense, it's like they see it instantly. At the moment of the picture, I would not be looking at them, I'd look away on some pretext. They're standing there, and that they look at the lens as if they're looking in a mirror. For a moment, the idea was that they were completely alone. And they totally got it. And it wasn't about them. It was about them as a symbol of something. And a lot of them, there was a moment of contemplation going on. They were looking at themselves and wondering what on earth it was that they had done and had become. They're black and white because I think color would only confuse. All the information I want you to have is there in the black and white picture, and the color would send you off in all sorts of directions that I wouldn't want you to go in. I mean, all of photography is an abstracting process. I mean, it's all editing what's out there, and sucking the color out of it is just one choice you have. Well, the system has always been the same. Never to seek out the perfect, ideal situation to take the picture. The picture, the philosophy is, the best place is to do it right here, right now. Whether the person was famous and important, although they often would dictate where they were going to be photographed. So if that happened, you happened to come through, you were in the door in the living room, okay, let's do it here. And if you happen to be outside, I'll set up here. Inevitably, inevitably I'm making decisions. I mean, I'm pointing the camera. I mean, you know, I'm making decisions. It's just, it wasn't this completely obsessive pounding through the property to find the exact spot. It was okay, we're both standing here. And I think it's part of the process of refusing to embellish and just wanting, from a visual standpoint, the person to be recorded as they are. I think I definitely don't see something in a subject and then try to record it. I take a picture of a person and then I look at it. I've rarely, when it's been a portrait, glamorized anyone. I've never felt that. I've never been interested in making them look more attractive, interesting, exciting than they actually are. I think they're much more interesting as they are. So when you're photographing someone famous, what one is doing is trying to, if possible, get a moment of reflection when they're not on duty being whatever it is they're famous for. With somebody who isn't famous, that isn't a problem they have. They may want to look as attractive as they can, which is their right. But the process of their doing that actually becomes interesting, which is much less so the case with a famous person. I really believe that there is a case for things you look at on the wall to be objects of beauty. I'm very wedded to that idea. And these things are intended to be really fine things to look at. And I just wanted it to be as fine as I possibly could.